Welcome to the Writer's Dream. Here's another episode with a wonderful author. You will learn if you like to read and you like to write and you're interested in Long Island writers. This is the show to watch. Where can you find us? You can find us right here at the LTV studio on their website. You can find us on Facebook. Just look for the Writer's Dream. You can find us on YouTube. You have to search my name, which is Linda Maria Frank. Click on my picture and all the videos will come up. If you wish to be on the show, please contact me through the Facebook page. So today we have a very interesting guest, Cindi Sansone Braff. We just went through this before the show and I messed it up. Cindi Sansone Braff. There we go. Okay, so she's known as the Romance Whisperer, which has everybody's ears perked up at this point. She is the best psychic, according to Long Island Press and Newsday. She's an award-winning playwright and entertainer. She lectures, she does consultants. When do you sleep? Um, you can find her on Blog Talk Radio / higher love. Okay, and today she's going to talk about her books, but the main book is Confessions of a Reluctant Long Island Psychic. Okay. So if you could just describe yourself in one sentence, what would you say about yourself?
Busy, very busy person. I'm a juggler. Okay, I'm juggling one thing or
I left
another,
that out.
and it kind of balances it because I think I have a lot of different things that I'm interested in. So if I only did one thing all the time, I might get bored with that. So I'm a theater critic. I do that sometimes. I'm a playwright. I write nonfiction books. I'm a psychic medium. So I have a lot of, balls in the air at all times. So I think I'm a busy person who
No, I would say so. So tell us about your book Confessions and why you wrote it.
I wrote it because my clients kept asking me, they wanted to know more about the afterlife and they find it really interesting, things that I've learned. When we're psychics, we're also kind of relationship experts. Most people come because they want some questions about their future romance, their current romance. So people kept asking me, can you document this or write some of it down? I wasn't a person that was born being a psychic, so that's why I put the reluctant psychic. Okay, it sort of happened to me older. I was already 42 when all of a sudden, for some odd reason, I remembered what I would say is the language of telepathy, and I began to commune with whoever wanted to talk to me. So I wasn't someone who was sitting under a Bodhi tree wanting this. As a matter of fact, for the first week or so, I thought I lost my mind, actually. And I didn't tell anyone what was going on because I really wasn't a person that was into medium psychics, never went to one. So imagine all of a sudden you have these, different things happening. So I went to the library, which is always my go-to thing. Okay, since I was a child, I never asked grown-ups for help or advice because they usually just yelled or said, "We're too busy. Why are you asking so many questions?" And everyone would give me so many different answers that I learned to go to the library and read maybe 10 books on any topic, probably from the time I was about 9. And then I was more confused after I read 10 books because everybody else had a different opinion and I would come up with my own theories. So I read a lot of books and it was really comforting to find writers like Victor Hugo. Many writers thought they channeled. Even the psychologist Carl Jung, who came from a long family of spiritualists, but he turned his back on that when he became a doctor. And then midlife, he began to channel and get all this information, and he thought he went crazy. And then after that, he did all his work on the collective unconscious. So to find other intelligent people who had this experience was comforting to me. So the reluctant psychic is, I really didn't choose to do this.
So what age did you really become aware of this? Give
Probably,
me decades or whatever.
I was aware of it when I was a teenager,
Okay.
but teenagers should not have the ability to see things. And to me, I wasn't using it properly. I could look at a person, find their fatal flaw, and probably nuke them in 2 sentences. And the few times that I did this, I said, this is not what it's for. So I just shut it down for probably 20 years. And then it was opened up again. So when I started to do this, it was for entertainment only. Okay. I was an entertainer at that time. So one of my clients asked me to do tarot card readings for her bar mitzvah, her son's bar mitzvah. And I said, look, I don't really, know how to do this. I don't fake anything that I'm doing. And she said, you have a year, study a little bit. Now, for me, when you give me a year to study anything, I'm going to read 25 books. I didn't really believe in it, but I don't know if you're familiar with tarot, but it's fascinating. It has all dream symbolism, mythology, religion. I mean, the symbolism as a writer was fascinating to me. Did I believe in it? Not one bit. But when I did the bar mitzvah, things started coming through, and I was like Whoopi Goldberg and ghosts. This stuff works. So I did it for many years just for entertainment only.
If you're not familiar with Whoopi Goldberg and ghosts, she's a medium, and she's actually sitting in a room doing something, and you actually see all the ghosts around her, and they're all asking her questions and telling her things, and she's about to lose her mind because it's too much information. So yeah, it's interesting because it is during teenage years that actually various forms of mental illness show up as well, like
Exactly.
schizophrenia. So of course, you probably, even if you weren't aware of it, were probably pretty worried about it. I've had my tarot cards read, and
Have
it
you?
is fascinating. It
It
is
is
absolutely
fascinating. That's what I
fascinating.
said.
The
Even
whole
just
idea of this is fascinating.
and it just for nothing, just study the symbolism and look at the brilliance of it. So that's and the sort of the deal with the universe with me is when the tarot is in my possession, spirit's welcome to talk. But when I don't have the tarot cards near me, it's totally shut off. So people find it, am I lying about that? No, it's totally off. I mean, I have the same psychic ability anybody has. Everybody has their intuition. That never goes off. But I don't have anything extraordinary unless the tarot is in front of me. Because, I want a normal life. I don't want to feel like I'm at a party and, your dead relatives want to talk to me. I want to read more people. I want pins in my eyeballs at that point. So it's off
Yeah.
totally.
Well, that you're lucky that you can do that. Um, but I think I have a biology background and a science background, and my feeling is that there are some people who are genetically able to tap into that world, the spirit world, if you will. And I
It's
think
electrical.
there
It's
are those of
electric.
us who are not.
It's very electrical, by the way. Like things don't function well for me, and it frustrates people. Like when we were in New York City recently, and I have the little Metro card. I'm sliding it like everybody else is sliding it. It won't work. I did all 10 machines. My husband's going, come on, come on, come on. I go, it won't work. So finally, he had to come back and slide it for me because it's so much electrical current
Mhm.
that it shows itself in that way that no one else is having trouble with it. And I'm doing it exactly like you're supposed to. I'm not doing it faster. I'm not doing it slower. So I imagine it's something, electrical currents or something that's there, plus whatever. And I think we all have the ability. You do have to study and work at it like anything else.
Well, I think also if you just think about the fact that when they want to see what your heart's doing, they use electric current in the EKG. If they want to see what your brain is doing, again, it's another electrical test. So there is obviously the fact that our heart and our brain give off electrical impulses. So I
Right.
think some people are just tuned to pick it up.
And you
Some
don't want
people
to
are
look at
tuned to
my
send it out.
EKG, by the way. You don't
Yeah.
my EKG, you don't want to look at it. It scares doctors. It looks like I have massive heart disease, that I should be dead. And I always have to tell them, no, this is a normal EKG for me. This is just normal. But they look at it and go, oh my God, because it just can be crazy. Sometimes it could be fine. Other times it could just do crazy things. So it depends on how much is going on at that particular moment, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's the scientific part of it that you could kind of latch on to when people tell you it's a lot of hokum.
And
There's
I'm a
there's
very
really a basis
scientific
for it.
person like you are. I'm very skeptical. I'm a person, you've got to prove it to me. I'm always looking for the earthbound reason first. And I think that's why I have a lot of clients that wouldn't normally go to psychics. They're judges and doctors and lawyers and, scientists, people that normally would not get this. So if someone tells me something, I'll go, let's look for the earthbound reason first. before we go woo woo out there.
Okay, so can you kind of give us like the high points of the book, what you're explaining to people
Well,
in
what I
confession?
first explained to them was that it came to me later on in life, okay, and that we all have these gifts. And I also want people to hone their own psychic abilities. So I give them exercises on learning how to, say, open up your telepathy. And one exercise might be to think of a person you haven't seen for a while and send them some telepathic messages to contact you. And let's see if in the next 24 hours they don't email you, message you, call you. And the overwhelming majority of times it happens. And that's an exercise in telepathy. We've all had it. I'm sure you've had the
Sure,
experience of
sure.
that. And
Absolutely.
it's a simple exercise in it, but it expands it. And I want them to understand different things like the Akashic records, which are soul records from, from our past lifetimes, that they exist. Can you open them? Can you access them? So I give them all kinds of tools so that they can be more psychic themselves.
Yeah, well, that's I think that my own experience is that I will meet a person and I will get bad vibes from them, and I say, no, just what's wrong with you? Just give that person a chance. That was two marriages.
Uh-huh. Well, that's why I wrote the book, Why Good People Can't Leave Bad Relationships.
Oh, I
Okay.
left though.
Okay. And how it takes so long and how we don't trust our gut that's telling us something's not kosher. And I tell people your gut knows when someone's not good. They can schmooze us over, and our judgment isn't great when we like people. Okay. If we don't like them, we're a better judge of character. If we like
Yeah.
them, we can be fooled. So I'm always saying don't ignore the red flags. Okay. Write them down, put them on your desk, and stare at it. Okay. So you won't
So,
do that again.
so the advice that you're giving, like when you do your blog talk radio show, do you do the same thing? Do you
Yes,
answer questions?
people will call in. They might talk about their relationships, maybe their relationship with their children, maybe they want a message from the other side, or all of the above. So I've been doing that since about 2008 now. So it's a long time. And we have a lot of, steady listeners, new ones all the time. But I think that's been very helpful to kind of allow people, if they need some immediate advice, that they can call in and get that. Otherwise, you really have to wait for a reading. I can't give you an immediate answer, nor do I want to be the psychic 911 particularly. I want to wait till the disastrous, the hurricane's over, and then we'll clear up the mess. I don't want to be in the middle of someone's emotional tsunamis. It's not the right time for a reading.
Um, so after you wrote Confessions, Confessions was the first book, yes?
No, it's the last one. It's recent. It was just
The
last year.
most recent one.
Right, that's the most
And
recent.
the other one that I thought was very interesting was why people don't leave bad relationships.
Right.
And was that the first one?
No, grant me a higher love. You would have thought maybe why good people can't leave bad relationships should have come first. But grant me a higher love came first, which is a 549-page book about soulmate relationships. It's a huge book. I had no idea when I was writing it how big it was because it was the first time I'd actually gone from, into a computer, and, I had no idea the size of it. I was shocked myself. I was wondering why it was taking so long, that it was an enormous book, because it's 19 steps toward a higher love. If you want a higher love, it's really about manifesting a soulmate and maintaining that love. Because it's one thing to get a love, it's another thing to maintain it on a high
Mhm.
level and not drag it down to what I call cellmates or toxic love,
Yeah.
which seems easy for people to do.
Yes. Yeah. I and also in your books there and in your writing there is the talk about a relationship with God. Uh, how does that all fit in with?
Right, because your relationship with God is the highest love. Like it describes love as a ladder, which I
Mhm.
think we should have learned as children that not all love is created equal. Okay. Some
Mhm.
is just a man or woman to fit a plan, like the old arranged marriages, just mediocre. Some is toxic. people now play a lot on a narcissistic run. Go to Tinderella, go to Tinder, get a Tinderella, throw her away. Very interchangeable love. Soulmate would be at the top of the ladder of love, but above that would be your love for mankind, and humankind, and your love for God, cosmic consciousness. So that would be the highest rung. So a soulmate can lead you to the love of humanity, to the love of God. It opens up your soul because that's
And
what it's supposed to be.
the way it was described to me by somebody was it allows you to connect with what's called spirit,
Spirit.
which is
Exactly.
God. And to me, it's kind of a
Universe, whatever
collective.
you want to call it. Because
Yeah.
people are uncomfortable. Even when I wrote the book Grant Me a High Love, I was a little uncomfortable with the word God because it's so related to dogma and religion, and horrible things have been done in the name of God. But I didn't know really, I wasn't comfortable with universe either, and I used spirit throughout. So I just came up. I just used that word because it just was one,
Hmm.
for lack of a better one. I don't know. But I was a little not comfortable with that back then also.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I think that people who are doing this search understand what you're saying.
Right, exactly. That, for the, well, just put whatever word you want in there. Okay. But
Hmm.
there is a higher power, is what I definitely believe in. You know,
Yeah. Well, all your 12-step programs depend on the higher power.
yeah,
You have to
absolutely.
give up your willfulness to a higher power,
Right,
and then
exactly.
it opens up your mind to see things differently.
Exactly. So
Because I
that's
think that's the block is that we all see things through a particular lens, and until you're able to open the lens, widen the lens,
right,
however you want to put it, you're just going to be stuck in that rut.
exactly. And people are confusing opinion with facts a lot now. So they are different, and so opening yourself, I think soulmate does open your heart. It also brings up unhealed issues. That's why a lot of people don't maintain soulmate love, because issues that you may have just repressed, suppressed, denied suddenly burst open, and people think I was fine before you came into my life. No, you weren't. These issues were there. So
Mhm.
that's why maintaining a soulmate love means healing your issues. And the more we can do on our own before a soulmate's brought, probably the better.
Yeah, yeah. So when you do your lectures, um, do you concentrate on the books, or do you concentrate? What are your lectures like?
Sometimes it'll be about, you know, um, grant me a higher love, which will then be about maintaining soulmate love or finding one or whatever topic might be in the book, which could be a topic like jealousy. You have to, overcome some of your jealousy issues. If it's why good people can't leave bad relationships, sometimes I'll focus on things like righteous anger, which is part of what we have to learn how to stop being people pleasers and say what we mean what we say without being mean about it. And righteous anger is sticking with facts. So I might pick a topic from that. If it's confessions, then I might pick, things that I've learned from community to the other side. I might teach them how to hone their psychic abilities. So it really depends on what lecture, a particular library or organization is looking for. Or sometimes it might come up all of the books depending, you know, what we're talking about. So I'll pick a particular topic and then discuss it. And it's
Yeah,
usually if someone asks and they want it, I'll think about it for a day or two before I come up with a topic that will, as an entertainer, the one thing I learned is you've got to appeal to your audience,
oh yeah,
right? You have to gear it to the audience. Okay.
yeah, definitely.
So
So
if you're going to give a lecture to an audience that's not going to be one bit interested in it, you know, I might not pick a psychic ability for a certain group because I don't think they're going to accept it or it'll be right for them. So I'll pick something else just so that I can appeal to that particular audience and not have people throw darts at me.
I doubt if they do that because you put this information forward in a way that at least people could think about it. even
Right.
if they're averse to it. Because I have a very dear friend who does not believe in God. Oh, he's an agnostic. Okay, so he he's willing to admit that there might be, but he's not into it. And I have the most wonderful conversations with him trying to describe what I think God is.
Well,
And he listens to me because he's a nice person. And but sometimes because I think it would be helpful, I think it's helpful to people to believe in something, to believe that you're not alone, that there
exactly.
is something that you can tap into.
Right.
Um, I have a book discussion group, and one of the books, the title of the book came from the words from Amazing Grace. And a couple of the women said, "What's grace?" Okay,
Wow.
so, and I was raised Catholic and went to a Catholic school, so that was easy for me. And then I
Right.
said, "It's the force, it's the white light, it's the thing that makes you better than you are." And it was really, I realized it's really pretty hard to explain what grace is. But
It is.
I think those kinds of concepts, to me, they're essential to mental health because
Exactly. And
otherwise you feel very much alone.
and if you think all there is to life is this with all its pain, misery, and loss, it's a little hard to comprehend. If you understand there are karmic lessons, there are lessons that we need to learn, and that makes it all good. If you learn the lessons in the experience, you might not have to be given that experience again. So I keep telling people, you keep getting the same pattern of relationships or the same pattern. Let's go to the root of that pattern and let's break that pattern so you don't keep getting this same lesson over and over again.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point. And for me, I was pretty much an agnostic and an atheist for about 20 years. So when this started happening to me, I was like, why me? Why are you coming to me? You're picking the wrong person. So it's, so I fully understand if someone's an agnostic or an atheist. And I'm always just being, let's just be open to a dialogue. Let's just talk. Let's just not immediately poo poo everything away as if there's no truth to it. And that's what I think is missing a little bit, the ability to like someone even if they don't agree with your opinion. I mean, I would never force my opinion on anything. And I'll always say, I'm not 1,000% sure about anything. Okay. I think I dig deep and try to get to the root of truth as much as I can. But I would never swear I'm 1,000% got it all right. So let's just be open to hearing and sharing opinions in an intelligent way, a fun way, a funny way. That's all I ask.
Don't you think that that's really the basis of a lot of our problems in the world today is that people are set in a particular thought pattern and they just absolutely refuse to listen to anything? I think this is a worldwide problem.
It's what's called selective reading. And
Oh,
so,
yeah.
and that was Hitler's favorite thing. Hitler only read what fit his opinions. He only allowed people, he censored newspapers. It had to be only what he believed in. And when you keep only reading what you believe in, you're going to and you can argue with people with this almost because it becomes a delusion. If you keep reading only what you believe in, it will go in your mind and become a delusion that no facts that contradict it will ever get through that. And so I like to watch all different news, even if I don't agree with it, read all different things, because somewhere in between this extreme and that extreme might be a blade of truth. So
Hmm.
it's what troubles me most is the selective reading, and people won't even watch like mainstream news now. They only do YouTube that have their YouTube that are not based on facts, a lot of this stuff. And
Hmm.
so it scares me to see how much more narrow and narrow and narrow. But, what scientifically with brains, the latest studies on if someone really gets to the point where these thinking, like there are people that think 9/11 didn't happen, that it's fake. And
Yeah.
they only watch YouTubes that say that. And I have, discussions with people that have this thoughts. And I did some research on this, and this is a delusion that's incurable. You can't, you can show them all the facts in the world and they're not going to get through it. And that's very sad. So
Yeah.
you never want to get to the point where we're reading and thinking so much that no other truth can get through to that.
No, that's true. A lot of that is based in fear.
Exactly.
It's like the bottom line of it is they're afraid of whatever it is. Well, we have a couple of minutes left, and I would like to read just one of your reviews. And I think this is interesting. It says everything metaphysical in one book. And she goes on to say, if I can find a second page, this book is for anyone who wants to learn more about anything metaphysical. I have read many such books, but none of them encompasses so much information in a very easy to understand way. This book is a gift of love from the author to the world. That's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. And that's what also, as a person like you, we do a lot of research. And if we don't document this stuff, it's going to be lost when we die and we leave this planet. So if
That's
we've
true.
been given such knowledge, or and a lot of the things that are in that book, I can't take credit from. You know, spirit guides, they help, angels, dead people, whoever's helping. But that information will die with me if I didn't document it. So I felt very compelled to write it. And believe me, nonfiction is not what I want to write. I'm a playwright. You have to nail my feet to the floor to write those books. Okay. But I know I put it in disguise form. Of course, that's what's so wonderful about fiction. Okay. But putting it like that took, it's an enormous task to make it easy to understand too. Because that's the editing. Because sometimes this is not simple enough. Do it again.
So we have 30 seconds. What's next?
Well, right now I'm finishing a play called My Struggle, which is about a 100-year Holocaust survivor that goes from 1881 Vienna into 1981 America, where he lived in Kew Gardens, and it goes from the World War II with the Holocaust right through the Civil Rights Movement in America.
Wow, that is a prodigious lot of work. So thank you so much, Cindy. This was really interesting and fun, and I think very helpful.
Thank you for having me,
That's
and,
it.
and keep the writer dreams going.